I mentioned on one of my shorts earlier that I was going to speak on three scriptures, and it's on the subject of while you're reading the Bible. So I'm going to get to that. The point that I'm making is that the Old Testament is a shadow of the New Testament of things to come. And the three scriptures that I brought up were Joshua chapter 22, verse 28, Hebrews chapter 8, verse 5, and also, there we go, Exodus chapter 25, verse 9. I'll read those to you real quick. I'll be reading it out of the NLT, the New Living Translation. It's a little easier than the these and thous of the King James. Not my favorite version by far, but it is what it is. That in itself is going to be for another subject, but anyway. If they say this, our descendants can reply, look at this copy of the Lord's altar that our ancestors made. It's not for burnt offerings or sacrifices. It is a reminder of the relationship both of us have with the Lord. That's what they said in Joshua. In Exodus, what God had told Moses, he said, you must build this tabernacle and its furnishings exactly according to the pattern I will show you. These are two Old Testament scriptures. And here in Hebrews in the New Testament, chapter 8, verse 5, they serve in a system of worship that is only a copy, a shadow of the real one in heaven. For when Moses was getting ready to build the tabernacle, God gave him this warning: be sure that you make everything according to the pattern I have shown you here on the mountain. So that being said, you have to consider when it was written, who it was written to, and the context. And to know that when you have things outlined in the New Testament, there's nearly always, I'm going to go out and say that there's always something in the Old Testament that is a shadow of the New Testament, and it interlocks as one message. It's giving you a hint of what's coming, and then the New Testament is the fulfillment of that which is coming. So there's going to be future subjects that I'm going to talk about later on, like who is God, what is the path to salvation, who is Jesus, what does he have anything to do with it, and what not. So these are some very important verses. And in Joshua, you can see that if they say, our descendants say, like, what is it? What is this about? The whole context of Joshua chapter 22 here is the tribes are going east from the rest of the nation of Israel that were spreading out, and there was this river that they had to cross, and they didn't want future generations to be like, hey, like we're like two different people. They wanted to have a reminder that we know what the altar is and how we set this up, because we know the same God, Yahweh, Elohim, Jehovah. And originally, if you read the context of that chapter, like the rest of Israel had actually marched down to the area to go to war with the tribes that had set this up, because they're like, oh no, you guys are setting up idols, we can't have that, we're gonna like that. That's how serious they were. Like, if you're gonna worship anything other than God, it is war. The one and true living God over Israel and all the heavens and the earth. The whole point of this scripture is that you can see that they put something together to show that there's something for the future. Like, let's look at this, and this is built for the future. And there's a reason why that happened, is that we can actually see it, and it was written and recorded, and to see that there's things in the Old Testament that is used as a guide to that which is the New Testament and that which is to come. So you can see that point there. And in Exodus I outlined where the actual warning, not really, I mean, it was a warning. It says it was a warning. It was the There's a direction that God said you need to make this exactly how I tell you to make it. And in Hebrews, it gives you the key, like, hey, look, God gave him a warning to do this because this pattern that had to be followed is what's going to be reflected into that which is coming, because God knows the future and he made sure his people were going to do it that right way. And obviously too, most of the time his people did a lot of things the wrong way, and that is a looking forward into that which is the Christian world right now. A lot of things are done the wrong way, so we have a tendency to gravitate towards failure first before we succeed, because we're trying to figure it out, and there's an outline set before us to not go down that path, and it's the Bible. So that's my 2 cents.